Hello, my name is Ash. I worked about 7 years in the games industry, then I worked another 3 years working for mobile R&D, and now the past year I've been working in the startup ecosystem, currently incubated by Mozilla. So the next session we're going to be talking about 15 minutes about the journey working in corporate life, kind of working as a contractor, potentially working in the startup ecosystem, how to get that right. And then 45 minutes, since you're such a very empowered computer science crowd, I'll show you the product that we're making. Maybe we'll go through the source code in some clever ways. Maybe you guys will tell us exactly what area you want to learn from, perhaps WebGL, optimizations, or converting OpenGL into direct 3D. So hopefully we'll get this guy coming very, very soon. So this is the company that I'm currently trying to push. Real-time across devices is the kind of gimmick that we're going towards. What that means is we're trying to solve iteration times, be it deploying on devices or be it publishing to app stores. We believe that we can actually push iteration times into the real time, which means you can deploy to app stores in seconds. You can deploy to devices in seconds. Source code, assets, and level designs. So I'll fast forward into this, what we're doing right now, what we've done and what we failed. And maybe the journey, I'll rewind back to about a year ago today. Last year, I think we won an Intel contest for most innovative Android game. They gave us a bit of money for that. And then beginning of January, we were shortlisted as one of the UK's most innovative startups. And by we, it's just me working part-time after work. So you guys have a possibility to do the same thing as what we're doing, and by getting nominated, what we had to do, we had to pretend we were a company. We had to pretend that we had a team. It was all volunteers, just make believe. But people believed it and they shortlisted us. We didn't win it though. Okay, in May, we were shortlisted as one of the most innovative internet startups in a contest in Beijing. We flew out to China. We presented in the biggest internet conference over there, and we met guys from Intel, Unilever, Samsung, just giant corporations, and they were talking to us purely on this contest. And later on we were invited to pitch in front of venture capitalists, one of the top 5 VCs in China. And China's a massive growth opportunity, and they see anything that's mobile, they want to jump on it. And it was really, really amazing because back then at that time, again, it was just me and maybe like 2 other dudes who liked the ideas, because as soon as we got into press, UK media press, started creating a little bit of buzz. And one of the guys that I was exhibiting at the stand, one of the guys, he fell in love with the technology that we were building, and he actually started gathering crowds and talking about it himself, and he gave a pitch about our technology and our project. Fast forward a month later, we presented at Intel and Samsung's conference in SF. A month later, we presented at SIGGRAPH, which is the biggest graphics conference in the world. Months later, we were incubated by Mozilla. 2 months later, we were completely destroyed by our mentors, and they were just telling us one thing: just stop developing and start connecting with your customers. So this past year, we've been working purely on R&D, like doing things that we believed would be cool, but we never once got a customer that said, we'll pay you money for this. So if we keep going in this direction that we're going, we're not going to sustain, and it's a big danger if you're going into the startup world yourself. So the good thing about contracting is that if you're getting paid for this stuff, bad thing about it is you're working for someone else's ideas. The good thing about it is though, you're building a portfolio so you can get paid even more. The more money you have, the more you can invest in your own ideas. The more you can invest in your ideas, the more equity you keep in your ideas, and you don't have to rely on getting investment. And getting investment is hard, especially when you're in the UK, because okay, it's a lot bigger than it is in the States. Sorry, it's a lot bigger than it's the biggest in Europe. London is anyway, but it's not the biggest in technological cool R&D ideas. It's big in banking or shopping or fashion mixed in with technology. So just be a bit careful about that. But it is possible to be the next big thing. So over the past 2 months, we've been they mentored us up with I think one of the founders of Napster. He's this like millionaire kind of like dude in SF, and he every single week I get off the phone with him and I cry because he just destroys me on the phone. He says, "How many customers have you talked to?" Like seriously, I'm like, "Oh, my mum." It's the most horrible, horrendous experience, but it's a reality check. And to be honest with you, I love writing code, I love developing, I love creating things, and I'm a bit torn because I believe if I spent the last 3 months developing, I could have done something even cooler than what I've got right now. But I know that if I did that and I didn't connect with any customers, then we'd be in a worse off position. Some stuff that we also tested out was focusing on the way we're going to use our technology. So we have some sort of technology that in real time you can update source code, art assets, and designs. And that's really bad what we've done, because we've done the old Silicon Valley model where we just spend time developing a cool piece of technology without realizing and connecting to the customer it is. Good thing about it is we didn't take any investment so far, so we didn't waste anyone's money doing this. We just spent time learning this stuff. But to test the customers, you need to start talking to them. So one of the use cases that we believe in, that no one else kind of does, or maybe it's very hard to find people does, is in education. I'd love it is if we use this real-time technology to allow players to become makers, to people just don't just play games, to people just start creating their own games. And the reason why we came to this is when I was working on this cool technology, I made some really stupid concepts. I mean, the original concept we had was trying to do South Park for gaming. Do you know South Park, every single week they come up with the latest media event or media story, and they just turn it into a cartoon that's fun and enjoyable. I figured let's do it with games, and so we had like iPhones versus Androids and burgers versus fries, and you go around shooting people. Killer Pete, it was one of my friends took the game on his iPad, and he was woke up at like 6 a.m. by his 2-year-old daughter. Daddy, look at this! And she was playing beef burger with rocket launchers blowing up a bit of tomatoes. But we was like thinking, like we can fit in education in this, like if it was like an additional game or if it was a multiplication game, you had to get the words. So we started focusing on the education market, and we came up with the idea that what if we came up with the idea and we validated it with ourselves, what if instead of people playing games on their mobiles and people are always using their mobile phones, so it's a growing market, what if people could actually make games on their mobiles? That would be cool, right? If you can just drag and drop a game on your Android and publish it on an iPhone. We have this technology to do this. We think this is cool. Is there a market for it? We asked ourselves, hell yeah, of course, people want to do this thing. What happened was, I think, fast forward 4 months later, we actually sent out questionnaires to actually ask my social networks and people I don't know. We interviewed them over Skype, and we asked them, hey, what do you think of this? And they were like, dude, doing stuff on a mobile phone is hard. Like, making games takes so much time. I'm not even gonna try this out. What? I don't want to play games. I just want to just like put my face in this. What? I just want to upload the photo on Instagram. I don't want to use my phone to do stuff. I just want to check my emails. So something that I believe is cool, the actual audience, the people who aren't learned of how to make games and haven't gone through my whole history of learning stuff, the actual our target demographics, they don't want this. Now, it might just be because we were talking to the wrong people, and I sent this out on my social network, and I was talking to guys who work for like investment banks, and they had zero time whatsoever to learn anything new. And I didn't talk to any kids because it's really hard getting access to kids when you're a 30-year-old dude. but we did talk to some kids. This was in I think March in the Big Bang Science Fair in the UK. It was visited by the UK Prime Minister. When I say visited, I mean he walked by. But you know, that's what you told VCs, right? You know, pick up the props. And all these kids, they love the idea, they love the concept, but are they willing to pay money for it? And if you don't get someone willing to pay money, you're a bit stuck. So this 7 minutes into my talk, I'm going to just jump in about the SIGGRAPH movement. So we're in SIGGRAPH, we're demoing our technologies alongside Microsoft, alongside Google. We're talking in a conference in between those two speakers. One was talking about Google Maps, one was talking about Microsoft Internet Explorer, and it was me in the middle. Player, what's up? Who are you? But we got some really good feedback from the industry. EA, guys from EA were saying this would save us so much time. There's some UI engineers, so test engineers, whenever they publish a game for a mobile phone, there's so many different form factors of mobile phones that they want to tweak the UIs, the user interface, you know, the up, down, left, right control buttons, and they spend so many months testing the devices on this phone, then another phone, then another phone, then another phone, and then tweaking it and changing it and testing it again. It takes forever for them. So if we had a tool that in real time could update the user interfaces, that is something that what they would want. Guys from Activision said, I'm going to tell everyone about this at work tomorrow. And guys from Qualcomm saying, I wish we had this for driver level development, because they do assembly, and it's really hard to do. But we got really good feedback. mistake that we made. We got this feedback, but we didn't follow up. So all these guys are saying, yeah, this is awesome, and it's the first time I'm doing a conference, so a big conference. And these guys are saying, this is amazing, do it. I didn't take any business cards, took some videos, just to put it on YouTube and say, what's up, I'm awesome. But I didn't get any deals out of this. This is awful. So you're gonna have to learn sales or get someone who could sell. If you want to do your own startup, make sure you partner with someone. If you want to go into full-time contracting, you're gonna have to sell yourself, your services. If you're building a portfolio, make sure that it just reeks of awesomeness. And there is some really good contracting websites if you want to get into contracting right now. There's a good one, gun.io, I think I recommended it to some guys already. And they're just offering money for just really basic technologies, even PHP programming, they're offering money for that stuff. But they hire you based on your GitHub profile or your previous portfolios you got out there. Yeah, I talked about this stuff. I mean, some of the companies where we did follow up on. So when we went to China, we talked to a representative from Unilever, and she was like, yeah, come to our offices, let's figure out a way to do a prototype for this. Problem is, they're in Shanghai and I'm in London. So we just ignored them for 3 months, and then we said, yeah, let's meet up. And she was like, okay, we already used up our budget for the projects. Next round's gonna be in February. So we've wasted this time. We could have had some money right now. Another one we're talking about is, we met some really amazing indie companies, and they were saying, look, with real-time technologies, if the biggest model on the market right now in gaming is, does anyone know? How are you gonna make money when you release a game on the market?
In-apps.
That's exactly it. In-app freemium. It's called freemium. You release your game for free, and you make your money by monetizing your big whales, your minority customers who spend money on the game. But there's a lot of money to be made. Now, currently, if you want to release a new virtual item for sale, how long is it going to take to get to the App Store?
Well, you mean the process?
Yeah.
It takes around 2 days now.
Okay.
It used to be a month.
That's good. So on Google, it takes 2 days?
Does it?
Okay, Google takes 2 days. Now, how often do users update their apps? Okay, so how long is it going to take for a user to see your virtual item? It could take months, right?
It could, yeah.
So you have something that's going to make you money, and you're going to sell to your customer. You need to wait months. Now, there's something amazing that Google does. It's called real-time A/B split testing, and it's a big model right now in the advertising world. What that means is, they test the monetization or potential options, or the click rates of potential options in real time. I'll give you an example. When Google has a new feature, they test the button in green, a different shade of green, a different shade of green. They send 10,000 users see that shade, 10,000 users see that shade, 10,000 users see that shade. Whichever one gets the most clicks is the color that they go with. That's what they do. Now, this is a big, huge market for the freemium world. And we've had indie game developers come to us and say, look, if we had this for our games, you'd help us optimize our sales. We can tint the swords that they sell pink or blue, depending on if it's a boy or a girl, in real time. They don't have these tools. They need to spend months testing different iterations. There is a big market there. We know this signal. We can tackle this technology, but we're stuck on our timeline of dedicating to try to solve the education market at the moment. And because you're a startup and you're only one person or maybe 3 other artists, you can't spread yourself to do everything at once. Current strategy that we're doing a launch page where we just have the idea, hey, we're gonna solve real-time A/B split testing, and we're gonna see how many people sign up. If enough people sign up, then we're just gonna drop what we're doing and go in that direction. But like, if it was just, we got lucky, we went to one conference and 5 indie developers said we want this, it doesn't mean the world wants this. So the more you know, the more you can solve. The more you solve, the more you need to be very careful about what you dedicate yourself to do. So if you're picking now a full-time job versus a contracting job, because I'm trying to link it into the question that you kind of answered. Now, going the full-time route, I went to the full-time route for 10 years. I look back at it now and I see it as such a waste of time. Honestly, I spent 10 years of my life like stopping myself from doing things that I could have done when I was just at university. When I was in university, I was the best hacker ever. Like, not the best hacker, but in my mind, I was a million times better than what I am now. I didn't have discipline though. Like, I was just purely, I didn't know how to work in teams. I didn't know project management. I was just a horrendous piece of garbage. I was like this fat, I had so much hair, I was a mess. but I was highly innovative. I was constantly challenging and pushing the bar with the technology that I used. Like right now, there's so much technology out there, and no one's been focusing on it right now. So even though I hate that I wasted 10 years, I know that if I didn't spend 10 years going through all the curves throughout this industry, I wouldn't have gained the confidence that I have now to tackle what I'm trying to tackle. I wouldn't have the money to dedicate myself for at least a year on this topic. And I wouldn't realize how much of a mess these big corporations are and how much wastage is going on. Right now, you have a great opportunity. You're like living for free, or living at, I mean, maybe you've got big expenses, but you have so much free time compared to what you would if you had wives and kids and families, and the opportunity to just slack and waste time. You guys are given deadlines. If you don't pass those deadlines, you fail at life. That is awful. At work, there is no final exams. It's just so casually easy, and it depends on what kind of job you get. Like in the games industry, it's a lot of passionate developers, a lot of people want to make a difference. It's such a good crowd. It's really demoralizing because your ideas just get crushed because there's so many idea generators and there's so much production overhaul on it, but you're working on something that you love and there's a really good vibe. In the corporate world, it's just such a bureaucratic, or just so many middle managers, they just suck the life out of you. I mean, they give you like a good vision statement. Hey, change the world. We're gonna be like a startup. As soon as you get a project that gets featured by the CEO of the company, who's of a $60 billion organization, you get 10,000 middle managers come in and just ruin your project, and they say that project needs SMS. It's a visual 3D application. Yeah, SMS, put it in there. What? You guys are crazy. And then you do another project, do patents, and they take it over and they just really crush your soul. And then you look around and you realize, hey, all these guys in this job, even though it's an R&D company, they all have wives and kids. They spend the entire work time in meetings, and when they're not in meetings, they're on Facebook. Seriously, you get paid for this. You honestly get paid to maintain the status quo, and then you realize that this company is spending $1 billion in R&D just to get tax breaks and just to say that they're doing R&D. This is the corporate world you're doing. It's crazy, but this is a very, very bad corporate world. There's the telecoms industry, so you don't want to go there. But you are given the opportunity to innovate, but you just won't get any end product. But you learn so much along the way, and your skills just go really high. So in the games industry, low pay, very low pay, especially when you start and they grind you to death. But you can probably spend 3 to 4 years in there and then get hired in a banking job, because banks are really looking for cutting edge cross-platform development, GPU programming, the kind of stuff that you learn in games, because games is always ahead of the curve in there. So you're gonna get low pay for 3 to 4 years, and then if you want to go into contracting there, you'll make a lot of money. If you want to do that, if you want to do your own part, but you're probably just better graduating from a good university and going straight into banking if you want to go that route. I got friends who work in banks though, and they hate their lives. Well, too, like, honestly, like, you work in a bank and you just get bullied by the project manager. You get paid well, honestly, it's great, but you get bullied. And then, once you spend enough years in it, you get to bully other people. So it's no, and then it goes around and you get given, like, VP of all these things, and you get a lot of money, and then you give lots of money to charity, but your life sucks, and I hate you, no, I'm joking. You're awesome. Talking a lot there, but I'll finish this up just right now. I'll just jump in on some resources you can do. So I'm working right now, as I said, with Mozilla, and they got some really great tools. But if you go on the website called webfwd.org, web forward, it hopefully will load up, and this is the key, and don't tell them that I told you this, because I'm gonna get in trouble. So you put webfwd/iv, yeah, web forward 4, and they have every single, what happens is we have 2 meetings a week with them, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday. On Tuesday, it's an hour-long review with a mentor, and it's a live interview. And every week we get homework to do. They give us an hour lecture on, for example, marketing, user acquisition, even legal costs, setting up infrastructure, just everything to do with a startup and a startup life. And there's about probably 10 lectures to go through, but it's completely free. And I seriously recommend it. It's free education. I'd go for it. So webforward.org/webforward-iv. Okay, I've kind of like spent a lot of, probably like 15 minutes on this topic, so I'm just gonna round it down, like finish it off right there. Our state right now is, we launched with testing. We're just trying to find our product market fit. So we've got some sort of technology and we're trying to figure out, is it B2C, business to consumer? It's just buzzwords, honestly. Is it viral coefficient? Another buzzword. Okay, is it B2B, business to business, where we license technology or something like that? And the way we're doing that, we've got one crowdfunding campaign just saying, hey, do you want this open source educational tool? So far, everyone's saying no. But we're resilient. We're trying to just, if you know anyone impressed, help us out. Player.com, email me, whatever. I'll beg you, I'll love you forever. Because seriously, I get tormented by my mentor, and he just says, "There's no market in there. Give up. Get a job." Okay, anyway. And we're testing B2B, so we're in talks with, again, Unilever, one of the biggest game companies in the world, and they're really excited about the concept of, again, selling virtual items and user-generated content. User-generated content is one of the biggest topics in the games industry right now. The founder of Valve, the guys who made Half-Life, the guys who made Half-Life, Gabe Newell, he, in all his talks, he's saying the user-generated content created by the users of Counter-Strike is just as good, if not better, than the ones that he makes. So he's getting people making content for his games for free, increasing the longevity of his games without him having to do any work. This is an insane topic. You've heard of Minecraft, you've heard of Little Big Planet. This is huge. Obviously, second screen gaming is going to be the next big thing as well. So these are two topics needs to be addressed, needs to be tackled. I'm going to stop on Startup Club. We're going to go in a bit technical, unless there's any questions. Yeah, Flash is dead, seriously, on phones. There is, sorry, there's any Flash fans? I know one guy who's doing his projects in Flash.
You're just being told to Flash.
I mean, you can make a mobile app in Flash and package it as a mobile app, but Flash inside a web browser is pretty much dead. The new version of Chrome on mobile phones is disabled. The new versions of browsers on Android is disabled. iOS never had it. It shouldn't exist. So it's a great prototyping tool. So there's a big mistake if you're a developer. You're a developer, you're not going to make this mistake.
No, if you play games on phones, they say you cannot play the game on the phone because it doesn't support Flash.
Yeah, if you the best game engine for phones right now is Unity. It will take you probably 2 weeks of just pure watching videos, because it is like an intermediate technical tool. There's harder tools, trust me. At least this one's visual and it's visual, and there's lots of tutorials and there's such a great community around it. But it will probably take you 2 weeks to get into it. But most of the games out on mobile phones are made with Unity. Now there's another company called Made with Marmalade. Good thing about it, it's UK based. Bad thing about it, every single time I meet them, I met them in my previous role, my last company, and we'd say, dudes, build some visual tools for it. Every single great game engine has visual tools. They say, no, you can code it, build it yourself. They support Flash. Seriously, we had a meeting with them 2 years ago. We said, build visual tools and we will license it for our company. They were like, no, we're not doing that yet. And then a month later, they hire a Flash developer because they say, look, there's so many Flash developers, they're getting lost. We're going to make them with Marmalade. But they're still alive, they're still around, they go to conferences. Apple, about 4 years ago, our hero, Steve Jobs, he said, Flash is slow, it's rubbish, it's on phones. So we're just going to allow JavaScript only. And that just encouraged the whole industry to improve JavaScript, to make it run fast, to give it lots of great APIs, for example, WebGL, and even WebCL's coming out, WebSockets, and just all these index DBs, just stuff so you can save, load, and run multiplayer stuff using this technology, HTML5. So it's a really big indicator. The good thing about HTML5 right now, and I don't know if you want to fit into this equation or not, there is such a big market to be had right now. Companies like Mozilla and Google have no idea what to do with it. Problem is, if you want to get an app on an iPhone, you go to the Apple App Store, right?
Yeah.
If you want to get an app on Android, obviously there's lots of competitive app stores, but there's really one, it's Google Play. If you want to get an app on the web, where do you go? If you want to buy an in-app purchase on the web, where'd you go? Now previously in the gaming industry, there was a website for indie game developers making Flash games called Congregate, and that was highly successful. And about 3 years ago, I kept on emailing, dudes, support Canvas. Canvas is JavaScript, HTML5, and they just ignored me. I think, because I'm a nobody, by the way. A month ago, they finally accepted Canvas, but it's pretty much dying. It's lost its market share compared to everyone else, and there's a big market right now. You talk to Mozilla, you talk to Google. I think Google are funding a competition right now for $25K to try figuring out this problem. Mozilla, they're highly focused on it because they're trying to get out Firefox OS, which is built on top of HTML5. There is no marketplace for HTML5 games and apps. Google made like the Chrome store. It's an attempt, but it hasn't dominated it. So it's really wide open for someone like you guys to solve this problem. I'm talking to a startup that's trying to solve this problem in Mozilla. That's how I know it's such a big problem. But it's right up right now. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, he was in your situation. He jumped in. There was a MySpace. MySpace was dominating. Everyone thought MySpace was the next big thing. They went into the music angle. What happened with them? Facebook came along and destroyed them. You guys can destroy and capture HTML5 gaming right now. Big, insane opportunity. Good thing about that is, in 5 years' time, HTML5 will be everywhere. I mean, it's there right now. You can run HTML5 games on Android, iOS, Windows Phone, everywhere.
Which one is that?
Huh? This is HTC1. It's Android based. But it's a Firefox OS. Again, it's HTML5.
It's not waterproof, right?
Huh?
It's not waterproof.
Sorry. Okay, I need to explain this to you. HTML5 will not make your phones waterproof.
Xperia is waterproof, right?
I'm really sorry. We are liable. We are liable. You know, one of the use cases for the tool that I'm working on is it runs. You can actually edit source code, UI, and designs on a mobile phone. So something that I tell people when I ever go to games conferences privately is you can in a toilet. And you can even join in our meetings. So I think on Thursday at 6 p.m. I'm going to be pitching my concept along with 2 other startups. I think one of them's from America, another one's from maybe I forget, maybe might be 4 startups. Every Tuesday and Thursday. And then at the end of the month we're going to be in SF pitching in front of people that are just going to destroy me. I'm not even going to try. I'm going to try, but we'll see what happens. So this is built at the moment at HTML5. This what you're about to see and what we're going to show you is completely JavaScript HTML5, but it does run on mobile phones. The way it runs on mobile phones is we translate in real time JavaScript into C++. So if you want to have a self-modifying C++ application, that is banned by Apple and it's banned by Google. You can't do that. But you can have a web application that is self-modifying. So we use the dynamic nature, the high-level nature of JavaScript that allows you to reinterpret new code, rewrite the code. We use that and we translate that into fixed functions. For example, in JavaScript, you handle all the entire application logic. You set the camera this way, you set up spawn points, you set up how the screens are going to flow. But if you want to draw something in 3D, we translate that WebGL 3D command into C++, a fixed OpenGL command which will render it that way. Good thing about this is open source, so you guys can check it out, rip out anything you want, or just hack with it if you want. I'll give you an example of how this use case works. What we're currently testing in the educational market to see is we're trying to offer royalty-free open source game packs featuring full source code, art assets, and sounds for completed games. So this one is an example fighting game. It's very, very low level. We're building car racing games, a real-time strategy game, a flight simulator game, and an RPG and a platformer games. And these are going to be royalty-free game packs that you can get the source code modified if you want, or get the art assets modified if you want. Quick demo. So in real time, I've got a visual editor over here which I can like move around the interface and have everything updated in code. The good thing about that is I'm just going to jump into the end product. It's all based again in JavaScript, so even the editor is. So I can PNG. So that World of Fighters thing, I can actually modify the source code, save it, it will update the editor and it will update the client. So this is in real time modifying an iOS application, an Android application in real time now. If anyone's ever made an application, especially a multiplayer application, maybe I'll show you a little example right now, is you get situations where bugs occur or things happening. So this guy doesn't look like Justin Bieber and the guy on the bottom doesn't look like The Rock, don't sue me. South Park. And you get into situations where you're currently now playing a game, and to get into that situation of the game, I have to go through several menu screens. If I find a bug there, how do I fix that? I need to stop, change the code, build it, link it, deploy it on a device, go through the screens, there again. I need to do it on both devices, and if the other device is in like Hong Kong, I'm kind of like screwed. I've got very, very rudimentary examples, but I saved that and I've modified the source code. Here I've modified the camera angle in real time kind of thing. And you can continue to modify and just mess around with users. So I've just changed the camera angle here. So I found the guy who looks like Jay Bieber. I'm going to challenge him to a fight. So again, this is actually open source. If you go to our website, player.com with an I, you can actually have this or out for free. And it's It's like a fighting game. I'm just gonna fix this rotation thing, comment it out. So yeah, so you can like punch, and this guy can punch, and it works on mobile phones, and you can like do some cool stuff like that. Other stuff you can do, I think I showed this slightly earlier, is just say that fight sequence, we want to debug it. I can just save that. It will replay the introduction sequence, and I can hack around and maybe make him do a kick instead of a punch. And once I'm happy with it, I can continue on with the game and continue fighting. Another thing you can do is you got a total CMS tool, so you got a level editor built in as well. So here I have kind of like an overlord view where I can actually see the players in the map just walking around, and you can mess with them if you want. You can like put a tree there, spawn a bad guy, and really just just completely in real time. And cool thing is, if I go into a file system, so these are assets that are already uploaded on the cloud. I can where is this guy called again? Demo here. I'm just going to drag and drop in a model into the editor, and it's going to go ahead and upload it. But in the editor, you can drag and drop in assets yourself, and it will download it and stream it onto the cloud yourself. How does this work on a technical level, right? You guys want to know that? Yeah? Now, you don't have to do this stuff yourself. This is a tool available, and if you want to contribute to it, that'll be great. So there's something I want to show you, and this is JS Manager. And this is a very, very cool bit of tidbit that it's probably worth just explaining. Now, there's something about JavaScript that I should explain. The JavaScript parser, the JavaScript interpreter only knows how to add new code. It doesn't know how to remove code. Has anyone here heard of eval? Eval means evaluate. It allows you to just add in new JavaScript and have it interpret it right now and add it to the source code in real time inside the JavaScript context. So we take that code that's been written by you, the deltas of it, we pass it around to all our clients, and they eval it in real time. Now, it only knows how to add new code. So there's a function, and it's open source again, you can check it out and play with it if you want. It's inside a file called jsmanager.js, and you'll find it's in sync.js files. Now what happens is, whenever a file is sent to the client, it goes and gets the classes inside that file. For example, let's just call this class Hello World. It goes a class called Hello World, and then it checks your current classes that are available inside the window object. What it does then, it says if the current class has a parent class, if it's parented off a previous function, it grabs the it grabs the functions from its parents, yeah, and it shoves it back into the current class. What that means is, if you upload a new file, or if you add a new function, it's going to override your current class. If you now, in the new version, remove that function, without that, it won't know that something's been removed. So the way it takes for that is, it goes, grabs its parent's function, fills it in there, and then it's actually been removed. So undo steps and redo steps is something that you gotta be very careful of. But you can just follow this thing. I mean, it's commented there, it said restore prototypes, in which it goes through all the functions that's inside the class, and it grabs the parent class and it fills it in. This is how you override prototypes inside JavaScript. So it's kind of like heavy metal stuff, and it's crazy, but like it works, and it's insane that it works, because I had no idea myself it would work. I'll give you a quote from some guy that we talked to from like a really insanely huge games company. When they were asked if they could do a game design based on these kind of real-time technologies, this insanely huge game company said, you know what, it'll take us 2 years of R&D, and we probably don't know if it's possible in the end of it. So now that we've proven it works, there's probably like some really genius monkeys that can copy and paste this and run with it. You guys can debate, I don't care, it's up to you guys, but this is something that you're going to be aware of. It's proven it works. I'm just going to show you one quick thing. This one's regarding performance. I don't know if you can kind of see it. So previously, in the game that I just showed you, on an iPhone 4, we were getting around 50 frames per second. So on the CPU, it was using 6 milliseconds, and on the GPU, we're using 18 milliseconds. In order to get a game that's running 60 frames a second, which is like butter silk smooth, you need to be hitting 16 milliseconds. So we weren't getting that, we were getting about 50 frames a second because we were GPU bound. We were using up all of our milliseconds on the GPU. We were drawing too much, or we hadn't optimized our drawing algorithms. So when we pushed our stuff into JavaScript, when we pushed the application logic into JavaScript, we actually lost performance. We thought we'd lose a lot more, but we actually lost a heck of a lot more, and then we had to optimize it like hell on iOS, because iOS isn't just-in-time compiled. What just-in-time compiled means is, when you get a bit of source code, the first time it runs it, it compiles it into an intermediary language which runs faster. iOS doesn't allow it, Android does it, so it's a lot nicer, but eventually, after all optimizations, we were hitting 12 milliseconds usage on the CPU. So we lost 6 milliseconds by switching to this hybrid engine system. But we were still hitting the exact same frame rate because we were still lower than our GPU, which is 18 milliseconds. So even though we slowed down our performance by half, we gained the dynamic nature of real-time code changes without actually losing a bit of frame rate whatsoever.
So it's better to play games on Android than iOS.
Big topic. So I'll tell you something. I got experiences in releasing games for all the platforms.
Because you have a Mac and you have HTC One.
That isn't the reason why I release it for all the platforms. Although they are technology enablers, I'll give you that. And I released games without marketing them whatsoever. And the one that I actually got the most bang for buck from was Windows Phone. And that's very surprising, right? But I'll tell you why that happens. Now with marketing, it's a different equation, right? Because there's a lot more Android devices than iOS. Now, I'll give you this. So Windows Phone, its size of its ecosystem, the amount of apps that are on Windows Phone is this compared to Android's this. Every single day, I think 500 new apps are being released on Android. Every single day. If you push an app or a game on Android, you're competing with 499 other apps. If you push a game or app on Windows Phone, you're competing with that guy. And Windows Phone has 10% of the market. 10%. So let's just say the market, making up these numbers, the market is 1 million. Android has 700,000. Windows Phone has 100,000. When you release a game on Android, you're competing with 500 for 700,000. So 700,000 divided by 500, right? That's your addressable market. 700,000 divided by 500. So you got a potential customer base of 1,400. Windows Phone, I'm joking here, but Windows Phone, you release a game, you're competing against, let's just say 1. So that's 100,000 divided by 1. So you got 10x potential customers from Windows Phone. A great thing about Windows Phone for you guys, now I don't work for Microsoft, I do like them, but I don't work for them. They got this package called appcampus.eu, remember that website? They offer you grants from 25,000 euros to 75,000 euros if you create a Windows Phone app or game which is exclusive to Microsoft for 3 months. Only 3 months. You make a game, you release it on Windows Phone first for 3 months, and then you can release it on all the other platforms, you get 75k. Appcampus.fi. Okay, so regarding Android and iOS, if you're going for an Android versus iOS, everyone, including me, recommends iOS. And I'll tell you why. Android might have this much users, but it also has this much different devices. And this much of the devices are rubbish. And like one of this much of the devices are good. So you're gonna get like, if you release a game, I mean, if you use a good tool like Unity, well still you struggle if you aim for the best device because there's so much different form factors, it's insane. And you got all these crazy like Chinese rip-off brands that just destroy you. Anyway, they're trying to fix it, they're trying to get it better. But on iOS, honestly, there's like 1 or 2 form factors. It's so much easier, the tools are so much more robust. On Android, like if you use Unity, I mean, it shields you from, although if you ever want to use Unity plugins, you're in a world of hell, you need to go to Android NDK programming, which is the worst piece of programming in the history of the world. I'd say it's even worse than PS3, depending on how sad I am. PS3 is actually the worst. Yeah, honestly, I worked with that piece of cake. It's the worst. I was actually at Sony's offices last week. And I met their VP of R&D, and he was a really nice guy. And they've changed. Like, look, I'm wearing this is a Sony T-shirt. They gave me a T-shirt. No hurdles. Just games.com. They're offering free dev kits and getting up to PS4. Signing up for PS4 development is for free, and they have this thing called GPP, and which you can submit an app idea, and if they like it, they will actually give you money to do it. So Sony are they've changed, but PS3 was an abomination. It's hell on earth, apart from Android, which is also an abomination. I'm dealing with it. It's horrendously bad, but if you do learn Android NDK, and it is possible, I got like a 1-hour webinar showing you how it worked 2 years ago, and they just changed it last month, so it no longer works anymore. It might still work on Windows. If you do learn it, it's such a great skill. You can get a contracting job like that, man. It's so good because there's so little people that want it. Actually, there's so little people that know how to do Windows Phone programming and Android NDK. You get one of the two, you're really hireable. If you get iOS though, you're really hireable anyway. Actually, the mobile market is insane. Just make something more. Don't use Flash. Seriously, you're killing yourself. Just use HTML5, it's really easy. But make something mobile and you can get a job. Like, it's insane, the market. It's just huge. Sorry, does that answer your question? iOS first, Windows Phone if you want to make money. Unless, if you're backed by a publisher though. So if you get backed by a publisher, they will market it and you can get really big on Android and iOS. But if you're just a one-man band, if you release it on Android, you probably, I mean, someone had an experience here releasing apps on Android. I got another friend, he started up his own company. Please don't record it, he won't see it, it's fine. He called it like superglobaldominationinc.com. He spent like 2 years working with students, making a Unity platformer game. He released it on the Android App Store. He charged money for it. He didn't go for freemium. Guess how much downloads he's got? Yes, exactly. It's a 10 plus downloads. I'm like, why are you charging for this? 2 years on a project, 10 downloads. That's awful.
But then
That's the
you work
reality.
with students, so
Huh?
you work with students, so.
But I spent 2 years working with students. What do you mean students are awesome? Mark Zuckerberg was a student, Bill Gates was a student, Steve Jobs was a student, Steve Wozniak was a student, these guys are students. You can change the, like, you can if you want to, or you can use Flash. Alright, honestly, I think like it's 5 o'clock now. So you're completely right. So updating C++ code is a big security hole regarding you can hack memory registers and steal stuff from the data. With web code, it's sandbox. So the only security hole that exists there is you really annoying your users of your apps, like me spawning a tree in the middle of it, or like introducing pornography, or just some really bad mechanics. Thing is, if Apple find you doing stuff that are against the App Store, they'll kick you out. So if they find like you release the game as PG-9 and then you introduce adult content, after they review it, they'll just kick you out of the App Store. And there's apps that have done that, and you can do that even in C++. You can just have a timer. If date is greater than 2 weeks. I mean, it's not hard. And lots of big companies now, I talked about our addressable market and stuff that we're aiming for, but big companies like Zynga, they have massive, and Google of course, they have massive proprietary software for their code base that allows them to do real-time A/B split testing for Zynga's games. Where we found there isn't a company that's doing real-time A/B split testing for games right now. So that's an open market for indies and non-Zingers and non-King, K-I-I-N-G. There's another company called SVMR, something like that. They offer split testing again, but it's more tailored for apps. So you usually need to hire like a Unity specialist to integrate it into their games. So what we're trying to do is provide Unity I mean, we've got, again, it's one of our ambitions. It's actually on our crowdfunding roadmap. If we hit a certain amount, we'll do it. But we want to turn Unity into a real-time game engine. We know that it's possible to allow the multiplayer stuff to work, and we know it's possible to like do A/B split testing or asset updating. But regarding the source code, it still requires a little bit of more R&D. But it's like one of our ambitions. So we'd like to plug it in there and make it very accessible. But yeah, you're completely right. You can mess up your entire game or app yourself. But you can do that anyway in C++, and if you do it, you're going to get kicked out of the stores. But where Apple and Google draw a fine line is you can't have any self-modifying C++ code. So Facebook, they got kicked out of the App Store, or they got for like a day, because they had what happened was, Facebook had a self-modifying APK, so they downloaded a new binary and modified the APK. As soon as Google found out, they introduced a new App Store rule saying you can't do that. So basically, because they want all the updates going through the Google Play Store if it's to do with native code, because that's the real danger one. You can like fish data, you can see really dodgy stuff. Intel's spec for Ultrabooks as of 2014, mid 2014, all the new Ultrabooks coming out will have a 3D depth camera built in. So you know like Connect?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be built into a laptop from 2014. So there's some insane use cases you can do with that. And Intel are actually funding a lot of people. There was this big, I think, £500,000 contest that they recently had, Perceptual Challenge. I think they're going to do it again. And I think there was a UK government sponsored one as well for 25k, just use cases for 3D cameras. The use cases they're going for. Yeah, exactly. It's like what's it called? Minority report kind of reports, or like face tracking, or like talking to the computer rather than typing to the computer.
Okay.
What like one of my use cases, and again it's on the roadmap, the stuff that I do. I got a little demo. If I had the internet, I could show you. Or if you check out our website, if you check out our campaign, there's a video in there. We want to, in real time, convert you into a 3D character. So the way we do that is, now their 3D camera, it isn't as advanced as Connect. Connect is awesome, like it gives you like skeleton and everything, yeah. But the way we're doing it is, you get a 3D depth reading of your face, and you get the texture, and then you turn it to the side, and we stitch the side to the side of the model. We stitch the other side to the side of the model, and once we model you enough, you can then start recording a punch video. So you record a punch video with depth data. So from that video, you trim it, and now you've got a punch animation. And because our technology is based on the idea of real-time asset updating, you can actually, just see if I can jump in. Let's just go here. You can actually assign a punch animation to a new character in real time and have that new motion capture downloaded on the mobile phones. So now you've got a character version of you that you just scanned within maybe a minute or two.
It's gonna be that fast.
And and you can fight as yourself against someone else that's fighting as their self in a game. So here is like a little version of the characters menu. So I'm gonna go into this Justin Bieber guy. So he's got like a punch, move, fight stance, hit, KO. So I can change his punch animation to be like, well actually let's change his walk animation, because that'll be probably easier. So his move animation, I'm gonna change him to a horse, yeah, just for jokes. So he's now a horse, yeah, I'm gonna accept that. Okay, so now when I go into the game, and again this will run on mobiles too. If I had the internet, I could actually be a proper demo, but it's fine. Fingers crossed this works. It's the game that I've abused. So Apple won't kick me out for doing that stuff, but the users will give me bad reviews for doing that stuff. I should pick the guy who doesn't look like Justin Bieber. Trademark. So in theory, if this worked, once he starts walking, he should turn into a horse. I'm scared to try this out. It worked before. There you go. Obviously that's a really poor example, because like really, you know, the punch and all that stuff. But again, like someone playing on the phone would get that punch animation. And stuff that we're trying to do that's really simple is, like I've called that punch, but that could be anything. That could be punch 2. So you can add in your own animations. And in the script, like we want to build visual tools around the scripting mechanic, but you can just assign another button to call that punch animation itself. So we want to really like tackle this and make this really actually super easy to use, but we're gonna see what happens. At least we'll try it. And 9 out of 10 startups fail within the first 3 years. I think 1 out of 10 fail that are actually backed by an accelerator or something like that. So we might have a better chance. So this is an open source tool. So the way we figured we'd monetize from it is by selling game packs, and the game packs we're going to sell is going to be royalty free. So you can actually get the art assets and sell it on yourself. It's not like a license where you can only use it in one game or something like that. So It's really, really, really cheap compared to other stuff. And we also give you the source code, so you can actually grab that source code, modify it, and release it yourself as your own game, and you can start off with a completed game. We also provide multiplayer hosting for you. Now we have a free tier that gives you can release a multiplayer game for up to 3 users for free. But if you start getting more users, then it will be like $5 a month or $15 a month if you want to go to like 256 users on the same map. But the way we figured we test monetization. Now this is a test. We only had one guy sign up. He was from Singapore. Probably did it by accident. We had some guys on crowdfunding as well, so that's pretty good. But it's a test. We'll see how that works out. I mean, there's other models that you can use open source software. The good thing about having open source software is when you're an unknown in your startup, you reduce the risk of someone using your technology. So if you're an unknown and you have a closed platform, a big company won't bet their company on you, because at any moment, 9 out of 10 startups will fail within the first 3 years. If it fails within the first 3 years, or Yahoo buys you, your website is gone, all the data is deleted, and all the other companies are screwed. But with an open source tool, the big companies that would invest in your working with you, they always know that if you go under, they still can access the source code and they can still live on with it. Now, as crazy as what it sounds is, no one actually wants to steal your idea. People would it's more expensive to hire an expert in their field programmer for maybe £90,000 a year, or contracting for £150,000 a year, that's just for one guy, to try to emulate your technology, than just to license it for 10k a year. So it actually costs them a lot more. And when you hire like a £90,000 to £150,000 programmer, you also have like 5 middle managers to manage him, and then you hire all these interns, so it ends up being a £500,000 package, just when they can just license your product as a SaaS tool. So a lot of companies are just biting the bullet and just working, partnering with people and buying technologies. And you guys are probably in a lot better position than me to find a product that people want to buy, because hopefully you won't make the mistake that I did, and which is spending so much time trying to make something technologically cool, and then when you have a baby, you kind of feel really guilty killing that baby in hopes of actually finding something. Because it's true, when you work on something for like a year or 2 years, it feels like it's your baby, and you want it to succeed. You're like, I know you didn't come out really well for everyone else, but I want you to do well. Whereas you guys, maybe you're still fresh, always change. But I made that mistake as well, because I used to have several babies, and I didn't really focus on
one baby.
Yeah, that's what happens. So when you focus on one, it's like you need to monetize him straight away. And if you have several babies, then you need to pick one that monetizes the most. Thank you very much for your time. And if you want to check us out on the website, it's player with an I. If you can help us spread the word, really appreciate it. In general though, if you need any tips, advice, even source code, anything like that, if you want to be linked up with some guys from Mozilla, let me know. They're really, I totally recommend them. If you want to go down the startup route, it's completely possible. One guy actually is a 22-year-old co-founder, so you don't have to be old or anything like that. You just need to have a bold ambition and a bold idea. So just say you want to solve something and just try connecting with customers. And if you're not if you're not hired right now, you might as well try it out on the side. If anything, when you go to an interview, you tell them, yeah, look, I know about WebRTC, I know about all this stuff, I know about this stuff, look what I've been doing. They'll be like, this guy, I want to hire him, because you can actually, because when you hire interns or young people, they're not really self-starters. They're very hard to integrate into teams, so you usually just give them a training project to just play on the side until they level up and they want to actually show initiative to work on the bigger projects. Because if you try integrating them into a big project, I've made that mistake before, they just completely lose it. And then they start dissing you behind their back on Facebook. Cool?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time, guys.